Welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha, a podcast shared by David Roylance. This podcast is dedicated to guiding you to completely eliminate the discontent mind and the suffering it causes by attaining enlightenment. Learn and practice the teachings of Gautama Buddha that will guide you to fully attain a peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy. To support this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha or visit buddhadailywisdom.com, where you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online learning resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Now, here's our teacher to share more.
Sawadee Kap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and what I do on Wednesdays is I'm guiding students in Breathing Mindfulness Meditation today, and then I'm going to open up to any and all questions that you guys have. We're going to be restarting our program from the very beginning this Sunday, where I'm going to walk students through this book, Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. I'm going to be walking students through every Sunday over a 7-month period, each chapter by chapter. And then I'm going to be teaching meditation throughout the Wednesdays. I'm going to be teaching Breathing Mindfulness Meditation and Loving Kindness Meditation, as well as Buddhist chanting as well. So this is an opportunity for you over a 7-month period to slowly but surely build up your wisdom of how to actually get to enlightenment. So welcome to all of you guys, whether you're joining for the first time or you're joining regularly. I'd like to invite you to join for meditation, where I'm going to start with some chanting to ease us into the meditation. Then I'm going to do some guidance. Then I will have a period of time where it's just quiet and we're just meditating together. Then we're going to come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And that's where I'll just open up to any and all questions that you guys have, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. You can ask any and all questions that you like related to the path to enlightenment or any challenges that you're experiencing along your journey. So again, welcome to all of you. If you'd like to take a position, either seated, lying, or standing, those tend to work out really well with online learning. And then, as I mentioned, I'll start with the chanting, which you're welcome to join in on, and then I'll come in with the guidance. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Photang Mahakavanhang Apivateyami Savakhato Mahakavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Saṅghang Namami Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti pisu Mahakawa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito anuttaro purisa dhamma sati satatava manusana Bhoto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, in the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that the mind moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thoughts, label them, judge them, analyze them, or even try to figure out where they're coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะเขวาพุทธังมหาเขวันังอภิวาเทมิ สวากขาโตมหาเขวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาเขวโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมหาเขวาอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารนังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิโตอนุเตโรภูริสาดามมาสติสตาตาวาปานุสรังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you, whether you're joining for the first time or you're joining regularly, welcome to you. Today is Wednesday of our group learning program where I share meditation with students and then open up to any and all questions that you guys might have. As I was mentioning on Sunday, I'm going to be restarting the group learning program from the very beginning, where I'm going to be walking students through this book chapter by chapter each Sunday. And then on Wednesdays, I'll be guiding students in meditation and also developing a chanting practice. So if there's any questions that you guys have related to the path to enlightenment or anything you'd like to discuss about your own personal challenges or anything like that, you can put it into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. In the comment section, I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, you can raise your hand electronically and you'll be able to open up your mic and ask any questions that you like. So let me know if you guys have any questions. Leo's got a question. Okay, go ahead, Leo, if you'd like to ask your question or multiple questions.
Thank you, David. I just wanted to know if ignoring the word, I think you used it not so often, but is this similar to cutting off and letting go? In this case, so can I understand it like that?
Which word?
Ignoring, like ignore, like if I'm sitting in meditation or if I'm doing something and something comes to my mind, I ignore it. Is it?
Yeah, it's similar, but it's not exactly the same because if you have a thought that comes up into your mind, you need to be able to cut it off and bring your mind back to peace and stableness. Ignoring is part of, what you're doing, but you would literally like to learn how to cut things off because in day-to-day life, you're going to have certain cravings arising, certain discontentedness arising, and you're going to need to be able to cut that off and let it go. You can't just ignore it. You have to cut it off and let it go actively.
So cutting off and letting go and then ignoring it. First do the action.
Yeah, if you'd like to use the word ignoring, you can use that. I don't use that word very much, except for like if someone's gossiping or slandering you, you should ignore that, right? Like there's no need for you to go over there and say, hey man, why are you gossiping about me? You shouldn't be doing that. That's unwise. There's no need to do that because that person choosing to gossip about you, they're not going to change based on what it is that you're going to say. So these kinds of things you can ignore. Or like if somebody's angry or hostile or bitter, you can walk away and you can ignore that, right? But what we're talking about is an aspect of the mind. You need to develop the ability to cut off and let go, because you're going to have things that are arising and you can't just ignore it. You actively need to take the role to cut it off and let it go.
So it is a part of, is it a small part there? So if I'm sitting in meditation and a thought comes, for example, now I had a lot of same thoughts. And then I cut them off and let them go. And I ignore them.
Okay, you understand, right? You have to cut it off and let it go. Yeah.
Then I just want to share that I realized that the last 2 days, I think I got more complacent because before I was really actually I have a lot of interest and fun to learn the teachings right now. But sometimes I think, because I wrote my 20 minutes, let's say, right, of Pali Canon and of the other of the volume 1, and I did meditations. Maybe I hear something of your teachings, but then the day needs to fill it up with something else. Because I'm right now not working. Sometimes I got to somehow then playing the whole day on my phone. So the last 2 days I played a lot of phone games again, even I wanted to stop that. So I think this could be complacency, right?
Yeah, what you're going to notice is with all aspects of your life, your mind's going to swing back and forth like this until you find the middle. So you might notice in some situations you're eagerly learning and growing and walking forward with that. And in other situations, your mind kind of swings to the other side. So you got to be able to have this middle way where, taking a break from learning the teachings for a day or two, there's no harm in that, right? But if that 2 days of playing video games becomes 2 weeks and 2 months, that's where, whoa, that's like way too much. So now that you see that you've taken a break for 2 days from these things, as long as you're keeping your meditation practice going, if you take a break from reading for a little bit or listening to the teachings, that's fine. Give your mind a bit of a break. Just be sure that you don't allow the mind to dwell in that video game for multiple weeks. That's where you're not progressing in your practice. So taking a little break here and there is normal.
It was this one game, Call of Duty, I wanted to minimize it, right? I wanted to stop it.
Yeah.
Is it maybe a good way to just delete it, the game? Because it seems that I got back to this and played it a lot.
You could. That's one way to do it. The problem isn't that you're picking up the game. The problem is that you can't put it back down, right? That's the problem. So when you have that game in your hand for 30 minutes or an hour, at that point, it's really hard for you to put it back down. So if I was you, what I would do is I would learn to pick it up, play it for like 5 minutes, maybe like 1 round or something like that, and then put it down and walk away from it for 2, 3, 4 hours, 5 hours, and then come back and play 1 round and put it down and walk away from it for the rest of the day. Because just deleting it isn't going to solve the problem because your mind hasn't learned how to pick it up and put it back down. But sometimes it does help to distance your mind from it, and that's why some people will delete things like that. But what I would encourage you to do is try to see if you can practice this middle way where you're not holding on to the game, but you're also not completely away from it because it's something that you enjoy. So learn how to do it in moderation. The problem is that the mind doesn't know how to put it down. So pick it up, play it for one round, and then put it back down, and then walk away from it for 3, 4, 5 hours. And each time you do this, your mind's going to be getting stronger and stronger. You're going to be able to see that your mind has the ability to pick it up and put it back down. So then after, say, 2 weeks or 3 weeks of doing that, where you can pick it up and put it back down, now if you decide to play 2 rounds and then put it down, see if your mind can do that. Play 2 rounds and then put it down and walk away, because you need to build up the strength of the mind to be able to put it down.
Okay. I also have 2 small questions. One about, I just wanted to talk once again about why a plant is not alive. Just it's interesting for me again, because just I know the 5, it's about the 5 aggregates, but plants still getting water or kind of drinking water, and they need this from the air, this kind of stuff to they grow, like they are not a stone or something. Stones are not changing and stuff like that. It's understandable that the stone is not alive, but in cases of plants, it's still for me not understandable why they are not alive, because
Yeah, you need to be able to understand the 5 aggregates: form, feeling, perceptions, volitional formations, and consciousness. And you can see that a plant doesn't have all 5 aggregates. So while you're associating with a plant being alive, because that's language that people use with a lack of wisdom, we will say that a plant's alive, or we will say, don't kill that plant, or, oh my goodness, I killed the plant. It's not possible to kill something that isn't a living being. So it's not a living being because it doesn't have all 5 aggregates. And the more you understand what those aggregates are, and you can see that it clearly describes a living being, then you'll be able to see that a plant isn't a living being.
Okay. They don't have feelings, right? They don't. Yeah.
They don't have feelings, they don't have perceptions, they don't have volitional formations, and they don't have a consciousness. A living being is going to have all 5 aggregates. A living being is going to have all of them, where a plant only has one, which is form. It has physical form. But you know what? This table that I'm sitting at right now, this desk, it has one of the aggregates too. It has physical form, but it doesn't have all the other aggregates. And one of the other ways you can see this is not only through the aggregates, but you can see it through the natural law of dhamma. Because the whole reason why it's important for you to know what a living being is because if you cause harm to a living being, this harm is going to come back to you, right? So if you cause harm to a squirrel, to a rabbit, to a human being, this is all going to come back to you because it's a living being. But if you cut down a tree, there's no harm that's coming to you as part of that cutting down of the tree. You can see it through the natural law of dhamma. That's the whole reason why the 5 aggregates and understanding what a living being is so important, because you need to ensure that you're not causing harm to any living being. Whereas if you cut a piece of broccoli, or if you picked an apple off of a tree, you haven't killed anything. You have harvested the broccoli, or you harvested the tree. And you can see that the only thing that's coming to you is beneficial results. Because if you harvest broccoli, you have food to eat, and now this is going to nourish the body. There's absolutely no harmful things that are coming to you in that situation. So if you killed a human being, you can see that there's unwholesome results coming to you. So that's why it's important to know the 5 aggregates, is so that you know what a living being is and you're not causing harm to any of them. So not only can you see that a tree is not a living being through the 5 aggregates, but you can see through the natural law of dhamma that if you cut a tree or you cut a plant, there's no harm that comes to you as a result. And that's how you know that what the Buddha is teaching you is the truth, because you can independently verify what is a living being through the 5 aggregates, and you can verify through the natural law of dhamma that there's no harm coming to you when you cut down a tree.
Yeah, in these cases, it's a bit difficult because I understand it with the broccoli and with other small plants. But if you cut a tree, it can be dangerous, right? They can fall these kind of branches on your head, this is a common thing. So people who harvest these trees can injure it very easily in this job. So is that not bad karma then?
That's not from harvesting the tree. That's from having a lack of skill of how to harvest a tree. Because if there was unwholesome karma coming to you from cutting a tree, it doesn't matter how big or how small it is. If you cut down a tree, you would get unwholesome karma. So if you have a tree that's 4 feet tall and you cut it down, there's no unwholesome karma that comes to you. Whereas if you have a tree that's 100 feet tall and you cut that down and you have a lack of skill, then what's causing the unwholesome karma of this tree falling on you is because of your lack of skill. It's not from the tree itself. And you can see that because if you cut a smaller tree, a 4 foot, 5 foot tree, there's no unwholesome karma that comes to you as a result of that. So you need to be able to delineate and discern what is it that's causing the problem here. And that's where you can say, okay, if I have this really big tree and it falls on me, yeah, that's unwholesome. But if cutting a tree was unwholesome and it's producing unwholesome results, that means if you cut a 4 foot tree, you would experience the same problems, and you don't. Whereas if you killed one human being, or you killed another human being, or a different human being, you're still going to have unwholesome results coming to you. Or if you killed this human being, or you killed this cow over here, you're going to still have unwholesome results coming to you. It doesn't matter how big or how small. If you killed a living being or caused harm to a living being, harm is going to come to you. Where with a plant, that's not the case. The thing that's causing the difficulties when a tree's falling on you is the lack of skill, the lack of wisdom to be able to cut that tree. And now the individual having the lack of skill, they're experiencing the harm. It's not from the tree itself.
I understand, yeah. I think I have still difficulties to understand the karma thing fully. I see that what you explained now, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what you're awakening to on the natural law, or one of the natural laws, and on the path to enlightenment is you're awakening to the natural law of karma. So you're not going to fully understand the natural law of karma until the mind's enlightened, right? You have to get to that point where the mind is fully awake. So slowly but surely, you need to be able to see the natural law of karma more and more clearly. So these kinds of examples, I can help you to see it, but then you need to do the reflection to be able to see it for yourself. And slowly but surely, you'll be able to see more and more of this natural law. But you're not going to just be able to snap your fingers and see the natural law very clear. That's the whole thing that the mind is unawakened to, is it's unawakened to this natural law of karma, and that's why it continues to struggle in the world.
Okay. I just wanted to share also that for me that because the tree, it seems so similar. The trees growing, they're getting older and older, and someday they get like they can't drink anymore and they fall apart, and the leaves also get brown. Here in Germany right now, they're falling down from the trees. This process seems so similar to to the living beings process. So that's why it's for me difficult to see that they are not alive.
Yeah, you need to look closer at the 5 aggregates, and you need to look closer at if you harvested a tree versus killing a human, you can see the difference in karma there. You need to be able to investigate it. You're not going to be able to just see it in just one conversation. You need to be able to investigate it and look at it and reflect on it very closely. It's not something that you're going to just automatically be able to see very clearly.
I would like to ask another question. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just about the 5 precepts. For example, the first precepts, don't kill, right? There's, for example, euthanasia. I think you say it like that.
I'm not familiar with that word.
Euthanasia. Like if you help someone with dying,
Oh, euthanasia.
Euthanasia. I just would like to understand more about what is bad about that, because I think, for example, if someone wants to die because he has so much suffering and everything is just in pain, if you help them, or if he decides to die and you help him with that because he can't do it by himself or whatever, what bad karma causes this for you if you help this person to die, and why is this the natural law of karma a problem?
It's not the natural law of karma that's causing it. It's the mind's craving, desire, attachment. It's the mind's anger, hatred, and ill will, and it's the mind's ignorance or a knowing of true reality. So if someone's experiencing painful feelings and they want to die, this is the craving, the desire. And then there's a certain amount of ill will towards this being who they are. And there's a certain amount of ignorance. What they don't understand is killing themselves isn't going to solve their painful feelings. Because they stay stuck in this constant cycle of rebirth, they're going to just be reborn into another existence and face the whole thing all over again. So what they would be wise to do is find these teachings and be able to get to the point where they can eliminate their cravings, desires, attachments, and that's what's going to eliminate the painful feelings. So if you helped somebody to die, you also are having craving, you're having that ill will, and you're having ignorance because you're now causing harm to a living being. And this being is now staying stuck in the cycle of rebirth and experiencing more and more rounds of rebirth, rather than potentially help this individual, if they'll heed your advice, to be able to find these teachings. That would be a wiser approach, because killing this being isn't going to solve anything at all. It's just making things worse, because now there's going to be continuous rebirth. And it might not be in the human realm. Once you're in the human realm, this is the ideal existence to be able to get to enlightenment. And killing yourself is ensuring that there's going to be rebirth. There's no way to commit suicide and not experience rebirth. Because at the time of death, if there's craving in the mind, there's going to be rebirth. And if you're killing yourself, there's a craving for non-existence. There's a craving for extermination of life. And now, because of that craving, it's going to produce rebirth, and you're going to just be doing things over and over and over and over and over again.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. You can look at volume 3. I don't know if you've looked that far into the book series. There's a chapter there where I talk about euthanasia of animals and abortion and termination of pregnancy and things like this. If you need the exact chapter, it should be the chapter that's talking about the 8 precepts or the 5 precepts. Those chapters are really close to each other. I think they're somewhere in the mid-50s of the book. I don't have the exact chapter, but I think it's somewhere in the mid-50s, 40s or 50s. If you pull up that book and you do a search for euthanasia or abortion, it should bring you to a section where you can read more about what I've written on this topic.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me see if we have any other questions anywhere. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions anywhere. So I'm just going to end class here by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest in learning and practicing the teachings of the Buddha. If you would like to learn more, as I mentioned this Sunday, we're going to be starting the group learning program from the very beginning. That's an ideal time to be able to start. It's a 7-month program where I'm going to be consistently walking you through all the teachings that you need to build a foundation in the path to enlightenment. You can actually get this book on our website by downloading it. Go to buddhadailywisdom.com and you can download it for free. You can take it and go print it, and you can get a printed version on Amazon or at the temple here where I teach. So thank you all for joining, and perhaps we'll see you guys in one of our future classes, courses, or retreats. And in the meantime, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee-ka.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To provide support for this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha. To access more teachings, visit buddhadailywisdom.com. There, you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Remember to establish a daily, consistent meditation practice, along with learning and practicing these teachings. A well-developed meditation practice is the foundation in which to train the mind to attain enlightenment.